Hey guys, JP Fluellen here with another episode of the Success Agent Podcast. And we're here with Todd Schroth. He is a top agent in Central Florida, and he's going to tell us about his story. So go ahead, Todd.
Hey, awesome. Thanks, JP, for having me on. This is awesome to do this today for you. My story, I'm 20 years as a licensed agent, spent my first 5 years, as a investor in the market. So I kind of got to learn the business from the beginning, from flipping houses to rentals to Section 8 to a lot of different things. And so that kind of helped with my, and I also grew up in the business too. My mom, I'm second generation realtor. Parents are 50 plus years in the business. So, coming right out into real estate, always going to listing appointments with her, being the kid in the car that was annoying. Hey, can we go home? Can we go home? Now the kids can be entertained with the iPads and stuff. But hold on a sec, turn this off. But so that helped, I think, generate me to where I was, when I got into the business, kind of knowing what I wanted to do. And it was a business that I never thought I would get into. But once I got in, I loved it. And starting at the age of 18 as an investor, renovating properties and going through all that stuff helped me learn, as I'm walking buyers through what to look for with sellers, kind of what buyers are going to be looking for and what renovations need to be done and how easy they can be taken care of. Because when you're hands-on, it's a little bit better. You can have a better feel for what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of take us back to like that pinnacle moment when you were like, I don't know, do I do it? Do I not do it? What was that decision process for you?
Buddy from high school was buying and selling properties. It was a year ahead of me. And when I graduated, saw what he was doing. And I was like, this looks fun. Let's do it. I was going to college as well. And I ended up making more money that first year at 18 than I would have coming out of college with a degree. And I ended up going to school for about a year and a half. And I'm like, this was just not for me. So let's get into the investments. That's when we had private money available to buy stuff. And, fast forward 5 years, we had done a lot of properties and we were to a point where it's like, all right, what's our next move? And, he went off on his business to continue investing. And I decided to get into the sales side and, get into the back end of the business and helping the buyers and the sellers and I started out working with investors and, him being my business partner, being my first client, where, they're all will buy houses cash. If they can't buy it, they refer it to me. So that was a great source to lead me into the business. But I think it was a way for me to slow down because I was, 25 years old, had flipped over 1,000 homes with him and, running everything ourselves from, we had no life, but we're young, so we could work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. It didn't matter. Now, fast forward when I'm 44, it's, wife, kids want to be involved in things. So now we have the assistants and a team to help kind of do things versus back then, just do it all yourself because, that's what it is.
So did you find that when you transitioned from, doing everything yourself into a team that you were able to be even more productive?
Oh yeah. I mean, because my first year in the business, at 25 years old, I think I sold 8 or 9 houses and I'm there pushing paperwork. And that's again, back in the day where you had to go meet clients to sign documents and before we had eFax and DocuSign and all this other good stuff. So it's, the technology's helped as well, but having the team concept that I've been running a team for the last 10 years, where I've had an assistant helping with things. I've had a buyer's agent on the side. And now we've got our team makeup now is 2 full-time admin or support staff with a part-time as well. Kind of does our running, lock boxes, appraisals, and things along that line. And then the admin, we've got full-time marketing and full-time closing coordinator. So they're able to as well help keep things moving. I mean, right now we have a physical brick and mortar we work in, but we're all working virtually. So it's like we can still work with things. She's still doing her marketing, keeping us out in front of the market, and closing coordinator, paperwork still being done because we still have a lot of files that we're closing right now because the buyers are still out there. So it definitely makes it more productive to do things.
Nice. So yeah. So at what point, like, how did you tell us about the growth pattern from transitioning from solo agent to a team and like how you put the different pieces in and tell us some of the struggles that you went through? Because I think a lot of our audience that's that's going to be listening and watching to this is thinking, okay, I'm a solo agent, you know, I'm doing 30, 40 deals a year, you know, I'm tired of work until 11:30 at night. Like, what's the first step? And then just kind of walk us through that kind of that transition process.
So starting out, you know, it's where you're doing everything from paper pushing to showing the houses to being available to the agents. You know, if you're negotiating deals and you're not showing houses at the same time, it's hard to be able to keep your concentration on that one client. And, you know, the biggest pinnacle movement for me was where I didn't want to work, you know, 12 hours a day and spend half the day doing the administrative stuff, you know, as a transaction coordinator would take care of. I can concentrate on the clients, be in touch and be the face of the team out front, being, as some would say, shaking hands and kissing babies, where you're always out meeting people. But instead, I'm stuck in an office or behind a desk doing the paperwork, and that's not where your money's made. Your money's made out in the community. And so if you can find a way to get out in the community more often and have someone else doing the stuff in the background that needs to be done to push the files to closing, that's where you're going to make your money. And that's where, you know, I learned, it was like 2000 to 2010. I think I had two assistants during that time. But when the short sales came around, that's when we really needed somebody. And that was like '08. And then we also had a volume of listings. And then we had a lot of buyer calls. So it's like, we need someone to help with this. That's kind of where the movement for the team started, where you have too much business to take on and you don't want to lose it. Because if I can't answer that call, what are they doing? They're calling the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure there's someone there to get it.
Gotcha. And so what was your first hire?
Administrative.
Okay.
If I can take the day-to-day stuff away, that's going to make the difference. That'll allow me to free me up more time to sit there and answer the phones when the calls are coming in. From
Gotcha. How many agents do you have on your team right now?
What's that?
How many agents do you have on your team right now?
We've got 3 agents, myself, plus 3 other agents, 1 listing specialist and 2 buyers agents. And then I've got 2 support staff and a part-time runner.
Okay. And so then was your second hire another admin or was it?
No, well, the second hire was a buyer's agent. And then, and she was with me about a year. And then when my admin that was with me for about 3 years had left, we realized that we needed 2 admin. So we ended up breaking the admin part in half, where we had a full-time closing coordinator and full-time marketer. And then we had another buyer's agent start at the same time. So a little bit of growing pain back in 2010, 11. And then from that point, we've hired another agent. And this last year, when we moved from Remax to EXP, we were able to expand our team a little bit more. And so now we've got a full listing partner and 2 buyers agents. And we're in growth mode. As soon as we get out of this pandemic that we're in, we're going to be hiring some more people to come in, because we'd like 2 more buyers agents, another listing specialist, because the calls are there. It's just a matter of someone being able to handle them.
Sure. And so what are you doing in terms of making the phones ring?
We've got a lot of systems in place. One, we've got an everyday open house sign, which, you know, it's another number they can call off at the sign. We've got an info 24/7 sign. We've got our general sign panels that have a number that rings the whole team. So any number that someone's going to call is going to ring the whole team. So it's kind of first come, first serve on that. Zillow, that's particular agents on the team get those calls. And then Realtor.com and the others, same thing. We use YLocal for our marketing, and same thing there. We just started with them back in November, and they're engaging buyers that have been in our system for 5 years through retargeting, which is crazy. And we're converting those into buyers and sellers.
Wow. And then are you guys using Follow Up Boss, or are you using?
We use Follow Up Boss, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of people making that transition. And we've been in Follow Up Boss for about 6 years, because I was with Curator before, and we were with them for 7 years, and that was the platform they used. And, you know, we obviously, as EXP agents, we KV Core as part of our program, but it's hard to switch to something you've been using for so long and you know so well. Right. Awesome. And so you've been really happy with going from Curator to the YLocal Follow Up Boss combo. Have you seen a huge difference?
Yes. I mean, just because the technology's a little, YLocal stayed ahead of the technology where Curator didn't at the time. And I think they've gotten back to where they need to be. But the IDX is just amazing. And the retargeting that they're doing, and the different ads that they're running are helping us generate, you know, clients from 3, 4, 5 years ago. that have been in our system that haven't done anything are now being converted.
Wow. So you just, sorry, I'm getting a little granular on this marketing because I know a lot of people, that's the key to their business is trying to figure out exactly the systems and the processes because, it can get so uber technical and very overwhelming to get a good structured database process. And so you guys got this good CRM/marketing system going. And then, so let's talk about now that we've transitioned. So you went through 2008. So let's talk about a little bit through the 2008 process and how that's not what we're going through right now, and kind of how a lot of people are trying to make this correlation between 2008. Now it's COVID, and that feel like that there's this big implosion going on when it's probably more mindset than it is reality. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So my thoughts are, and obviously every day new stuff comes out. I mean, so what we quote today may change tomorrow. So we might be on a podcast next week talking about the same thing, but a different way. For advice for anybody out there, stay in touch with your lenders, and keep up with the market out there because the stuff shifts every day. But I've heard a lot of people compare it to 9/11 to where it's going to be, a 60-day, turn of events and we'll get back to normal. It's called the new normal. Every time something happens, it always becomes the new normal. And then, you've got the short sale boom that happened, but I think we're not going to have that because yes, the values got back up to what they were in 2005, but I had to prove like who I was via blood samples and everything else to be able to buy my house to where before I could walk into the bank and say, I want to buy 5 houses and I don't have a job or any money. Cool. Sign here. Hold on. Did you fog a mirror first? And so I don't think we're going to get back to that because of that. And there's money being put into properties. There's down payments being made, liquid cash versus a lot of 100% financing. And I'm one of those guys that bought some property back in 2005 that was 100% investment. And I did sell a couple of those, but I also had to let a couple of them go due to short sales because the markets went from 500 down to 250 down to $180, and it just didn't make financial sense to keep them at a certain point. Plus, the mortgages and all the other stuff were not relating to the rents. So I don't think we're going to get there. I do see certain markets being hit, vacation markets and other stuff, because if you think about the lending standards are getting tighter, and things along that line are going to make a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. I even heard, and I didn't fact check this, but one of my lenders that we work with was saying that one of the big banks, I think it was Chase, actually increased their credit scores to 700.
Yeah, I was going to say that came out I saw that on Facebook yesterday, and I asked my lenders about that. It's minimum 700 credit score and 20% down. And it's
the board, right?
Yep, and it's across the board. Obviously, the only thing it's not going to affect is VA. And I don't know if they're going to touch FHA loans either with that, but that's also affecting their warehouse lines that handles 40% of that open market. So, we're going to see. I mean, that was announced, or it was probably announced more than a day ago, but I just saw it yesterday, and I've asked my guys about it, and they're like, it's going to be better to be working with a direct bank, like a local lender who acts as a bank versus the Wells Fargos, the Chases, the SunTrust, and Bank of Americas. And I've never worked with them anyways because there's no customer service.
Right.
So it makes us want to go to those guys more and keep the money local.
Crazy. And it's kind of funny because I'm doing a deal with Chase right now, so we'll see if it closes.
Yeah. Well, it was when VA came out, I think when they started to tighten stuff up, and they're like, if you get anything below 640, don't touch it. And so if you get an FHA or VA, and ironically, the next day I got a VA, and I called the lender up, and I'm like, I know you can't answer this question because they can't tell you what the guy's credit score is, but I'm like, is he above X? Is he above X? And then they're like, hey, he's got a 680, he's fine. I'm like, okay, thanks. You're not supposed to say that, but I appreciate the comfort. I know he can screw himself by 40 points and we can still close.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have one lender that's they're a privately held company, but I think they're the 5th in the world or 5th in the U.S. but they're all privately held. So they don't have any of the overlays that they're running into
Right.
banks and stuff. And they're just like, yeah, no, we're business as usual. So if you guys got any of those tough deals, you know, so if you guys got any of those tough deals out where you're at, they haven't touched any of them. Cause I know even a lot of the, some of our local banks even have switched to 680
Yeah.
as a benchmark, which is just crazy.
Which, I mean, you know, you should work on your credit scores and get them up there. It's going to give you better rates anyways. But if you are a 680, and it's like the old adage, if you go pull your credit for something or go shop a second lender, I know they can't do this anymore, but if they shop a second lender or something, then it knocks you 3 points, you're out of the picture.
Yeah.
And so it makes it tougher. You know,
Yeah.
we're considering a move up, and I was talking to our one of our guys yesterday, and he's like, yeah, we can do 10% down, a jumbo, no problem. It's portfolio. It's a 7-1 arm. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I want to be whatever I buy, I'm 30-year or 15-year fixed. I don't want to worry in 7 years what's going on, because what I move to, I would like to say I'm going to die in. And then the other one's like, just wait, you know, because we're going up a level in housing, and he's like, just wait a year. If you can wait, just wait. I'm like, good. You know, we have no problems taking that advice.
Yeah, the only downside of that is that the rates might not be as good in a year from now.
Correct. So that, I mean, as a buyer, I would hope that on that higher end market does come down. If it came down 10%, cool. Then it, you know, if the rate's up a point, it's going to average out the same. But the where, you know, to be comfortable, you're going to have to put 20, 25, 30% down to get a 30-year fixed and get a decent interest rate. And, you know, and you should be doing that on a higher level anyways, but it's like, if you can make a move right now and get that 3.25%, then, you know, it'd be a better opportunity.
Yeah. And then of course, you know, jumbo loans are pretty much non-existent right now.
Yep.
Until they figure out what's going on.
They both said a year before it comes back.
That's crazy. Because I did, when I bought my house, I did a VA jumbo on that one, and I had to do some magic on it, but able to roll my commissions back into my down payment, and ended up being a pretty good deal. But I guess, yeah, one of the lenders we work with has a crazy, it's not a jumbo, but it's like a program where you basically use your mortgage as like a credit card.
Okay, so like home equity, or?
So basically what it is they, so basically they take your home's mortgage and put it as a debt line. So they turn it into, the whole mortgage as a HELOC.
Okay.
So every month there's a payment due on that. And so you can use it for, you know, groceries or whatever you want to use it for, as long as you continue to make that monthly payment.
Right.
And it's interest only, pretty much. So you
Right.
make the payment interest only, and that's your mortgage. And it can go up or down as you use it. It's insane. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I was like, he's like, but it's really for sophisticated buyers.
Right.
Because people that would use it as a, you know, just go crazy, you know, because now you have, you know, $200,000 worth of credit card that you can use for whatever you want, could really get people into trouble. So you really got to be careful. But yeah, it works especially in situations where, you know, you need like a jumbo loan scenario.
Right. Yeah, so, I guess, you know, like for his, if we decided, you know, we were going to relocate in 7 years out of the area, cool, I'll go buy that house on a 7-1 and keep a low payment, and know when my daughter turns 18, she's out of high school, we're going to the beach or something. If we knew that definite, then yeah, I would take that all day long. But you know, I've been in this area 20 years. This is where my business is. And, you know, in 10 years from now, my business is still going to be here. If I have a partnership, you know, we're working on building a team at the beach, but I don't want to be knowing in 7 years that I'm going to have this crazy financial situation that I got to go through to get out of this ridiculous mortgage that I took.
Right.
So you've got to be very strategic if you're doing that.
Yeah. That's when you kind of get to a point where you liquidate all of your investment properties and you just buy it cash and then be done.
Yep, exactly.
So, okay. So let's transition into sphere of influence market in a COVID-19 environment. So tell me what you guys are doing differently now to still engage with your sphere and getting them to get over a lot of the objections. Cause I'm sure you're still hearing, we want to wait to see how things shake out. We're a little hesitant to get our houses on the market to list, you know, and then kind of dive into a little bit of the difficulties that you guys might be running into in terms of showing houses and doing open houses and that kind of thing.
So
you guys are doing.
let's start with open houses. I mean, we've basically taken those virtual. You know, it's instead of sitting at an open house on a Sunday from 2 to 5 and having 15 strangers walk through, that you probably will get 1 or 2 phone numbers to be able to return a call on. We're taking those as Facebook Lives. They're between 5 and 10 minute videos about the house, and maybe a little, you know, tour of the community depending on where the house is located while we're there. And then there's some Q&A going on. We've got somebody on the other end of the Facebook Live that's monitoring questions, as you and I talked about earlier. There's, you know, someone that's able to answer well, you know, manage the comments so they can keep up. And that's what we're doing on the open houses. I mean, there's a lot of different strategies for open houses for virtual. And I think that is one of the better ones, and or me inside of a house on a Zoom call with you as a team leader, and then, you know, you're interviewing me as I'm walking through the house and asking questions. That was another one that I saw that looked really good. But I've seen some real failures too, where people will schedule a Facebook event for an open house at 2 o'clock on Thursday and post a Matterport link. You know, I don't need to. I'd rather see the actual house. I mean, I think they're trying to do it just to collect the data on the consumers, but I think this is the going to the house and physically being there, and obviously protecting yourself with gloves and masks and other stuff. If you feel comfortable doing that, is the better way to be in the house. And if the buyers want to see it, cool, we'll schedule a private showing, you know, and we're protecting all of our listings with a bucket in the front with gloves, a sign that says if you've traveled 90 days or if you're sick, please don't come in. Hand sanitizer at the door as well, for everyone. And, you know, our showings are way down on our listings, but the buyers that are out there are the more, the guys that need to move and that want to move. You know, and I've had one buyer personally that I'm working with that decided to wait 6 months because the son is giving them money and said, "Mom, I'm not doing this. You know, you need to wait," because, you know, he's of the opinion the market's going to crash and that doesn't want to tie his money up, rather wait. Versus you've got some that have the normal feelings of the market's going to stay consistent, and in 6 months the rates may be higher. So it's, you know, every buyer has their own financial strategy behind what they're doing. To answer the question on the sellers, you know, I've got some that we talk off the ledge that they want to wait and make them understand that the buyers right now, as we've said, want to move. And so you're not going to have a bunch of people through your house. You know, our strategy that we use, one that I'm putting on the market right now, they wanted to go in at 205 just to test it and see what happens, and then come down to 199 where we want to put it on the market at. And I'm like, if you put the house on the market at 205, you're going to have a lot more looky-loos. If you put it on at 199, and you're going to take longer to sell it because it's not going to appraise, and yes, it's only $5,000, but there's other inventory that they could buy that has that extra feature for the other $5,000.
Well, nobody searches at that price point. You know, it's always 200, 220, 5, 250. So 205 is not even a number that they're going to search for. So it'll also reduce the search you know, the amount of searches they'll get at that price point.
That neighborhood, if I'm going over 200, I'm buying a different level of house. If I'm under 200, I'm going to stay inside that community. And so, you know, the point is, and you're already scared about having people come in your house. So it's like, and I didn't want to use this guy as an example last night when I was talking to him, but I'm like, look at what you're doing when you're going out to see the inventory. You're what's called a looky-loo, and you don't want those in your house. And you're already scared about having people in your property. And so what we're going to do is we're going to price it correctly, stay firm on the price, and you're going to sell it a lot quicker than you are if you price it higher and then just have everybody coming in. And we're taking the precaution too, normally, that we're having the agents go through showing time, set the appointment directly with the seller, you know, and they'll confirm yes or no, and then they'll, you know, we'll be there between 2 and 3. So now, and we can manage a little bit better because we don't have as many showings happening, but they're going to message us directly, and we're going to call and interview that buyer or that buyer's agent and say, you know, the following things, you know, is your buyer, you know, are they ready to close in 30 to 45 days? Are they approved, and who are they approved with? How old is the approval? And, you know, then we ask them to travel. Is the buyer sick? And when the buyer does come to the house, please just bring the buyer and the buyer's spouse. We don't need all the kids inside the house. And it was like 2 weeks ago, I had a closing at my office, and the couple brought like 6 kids and the grandma and something else, and it was just right before April 1st. So I'm like, April 1st, I had our cleaning lady come in. I'm like, wipe this place down, because there was people in here touching everything, and God only knows. And so, we want to be careful. And so when the buyers do come in, please wear some gloves. If you, the agent, don't mind opening all the doors. If most of the sellers right now are working from home, so they can kind of open everything up for everybody, and they're not really stepping out. If they don't have to, if they can, they're gonna step out. But if they can't, they're gonna stay there, and they'll open the doors for the agents, let them do the thing, don't answer any questions, and then say thank you, and then the agent leaves and does her thing. But just interviewing the agent and the buyers a little bit more before they go in the house, I think, is the biggest thing that's going to make a difference, because it's going to stop as much traffic coming through.
Yeah, I would agree. So in terms of now what are you guys doing for marketing in terms of, have you shifted your message to your target audience now now that we're in this new environment?
We have, YLocal has been great at creating content for like a pandemic, for a pandemic market, or COVID stuff. I've been personally been posting a lot of just random things, just a lot of the memes. It keeps some light on the situation.
Yeah.
And our buyers that are clicking on our ads, we're not calling them and saying, hey, you want to see that house? We're calling them and asking how they're doing. And if the conversation turns into real estate, it turns into real estate. We're not pushing real estate as much as we would have, because we don't want to come across as we don't care what the market is. We want to our goal is to sell you a house. No, our goal is not to sell you a house. Our goal is to connect with you, because we can connect with you, then we can then that'll turn into a sale, and then that'll turn into a referral. And we don't want our name associated with car sales or whatever you want to call it. It's just sleazy sales. And there are a couple out there. And it depends on the person who's being contacted as well. We've got an AI out there that's run through YLocal, and they've actually been changing the verbiage to not talk about buying right away with the Autobots, and it's more checking in to see how we can service that customer better as well.
Nice. So with YLocal, let me just follow up on that a little bit. So yeah. How does the handoff work to your agent from that?
It's a round robin through follow-up boss. So if the lead comes in, let's just say there's 5 on the team, and there's 5 leads that come in. I get the first one, they get the second one, third, fourth, fifth. And the AI understands who it is through follow-up boss when the auto texting is going out. Hey, so-and-so, this is Todd's assistant. Or hey, so-and-so, this is Liz's assistant with eXp Realty. And so that's the main handoff, is right at the beginning, because it's through the round robin. We don't have it going to an ISA, and then the ISA takes the conversation and sends it over.
Got it. So your team is your own ISAs.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the way it really should be. ISAs are usually a last resort when your team isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. We've tried the ISA model. We keep wanting to try it again, and it's like, it just doesn't work. I know the model can work because people do it and they're successful with it, but it's, you've got to find the right people to do it.
Right. Well, and, there's always a pay structure and different, and all of that stuff. And usually, when you start having commission reduction conversations, your team starts tripping out about it. And, and trust me, I've had that conversation.
Yeah.
And in matter of fact, in Wyoming, it's weird because they don't even, like, I say ISA, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm talking to like 8, agents that have been in the business for 20 plus years, and they still don't know what it means.
Yeah, those are the ones that are not keeping up with, in the groups and learning all the new stuff that's going on.
Nope. No. Yeah, I was probably the first pioneer to do Facebook ads even in our area. And then of course, it creates this buzz, and then I get calls from, the chief investigative officer that my, advertising's not in compliance.
Oh my gosh.
Trust, dude, I've had it all. If there was a line to be broken that wasn't really a line, it was just another agent going, you can't do that. And then you come back with, yes, I can,
Yeah. Well, and you're setting the forefront, and they need to get with the program as well.
Yeah. I'm still, as of right now, I'm still the only team operating at the scale that I am in my entire city. So
Oh, wow.
it's very, I mean, it's blue ocean up here, big time. So
Yeah,
huge
we're
opportunities.
so much team competition here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. See, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's pretty, it's fun, but,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I'm going head to head with brokerages is
right.
really what I'm doing.
Right. Well, that's funny because like our team will sell more than most like national brands that have branch offices, and you know we do 100 to 120 deals a year, and I mean there's usually 2 to 3 of us doing sales, and I laugh that you know our team is selling more than some of the Coldwells and the Remax offices and other places, and it's like how are they even surviving when as a team we're doing that, and they've got 10 agents selling.
Well, it's because the agents aren't making any money.
Right.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. Is it's just it's a parasitic relationship. It's like, well, you just give them enough to get groceries and pay the bills, and that's about it. You know.
Yeah, but you're talking 10 agents in an office. Like, take a Remax for example, where there's you know you're a third. You'd be a third of their office if you were in that that brokerage, and you know, and they've got another 20 agents in there, and your 2 or 3 people that are selling are doing you know a third of what the other 20 are doing, and you know the Cole. I mean, without using brand names, but you look at some of these others where you've got management that you got to pay, you've got admin you got to pay. And I'm just wondering what the guy at the top's taking because he can't have much left, especially on the storefronts these guys have.
Right. And some of these offices are pretty extravagant, you know. I mean,
Yep.
you know, I think a lot of it is just you get so far into it, you got to save face.
Yes.
And, you know, you don't want people to see you fail. And so you just kind of just hang on, you know, but at some point, you know, there's going to be a mass exodus. I mean, that's just what happens. I mean,
yeah,
you know, the office that I was at, I was there for 7 years, and just before I had started there, they had a mass exodus of like over 50% of the people left to another brokerage in town.
Oh wow, and that takes effect. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, you can only take so much of what you think is reality until all of a sudden you're like, you kind of you question what is right and what is equitable. You know, and you know, you just sit, that's what happened to me. I just sat down and I just kept running the numbers, and I was just like, where's the value add for me here? You know, and of course I'm, you know, one of like 8 people in all of my town that actually like listen to podcasts and listen to how other top teams are doing, structuring things. And then you're just like, wait a minute, I haven't really thought about it in that way before, because there's practical information that's being put out there. And so then I was like, sat down with my broker and I said, here's the deal. Like, these things have to change or I'm out. And so, and at that time I was a shareholder, and we had like a little internal share system. And so I was a shareholder at that time, and I was kind of on an advisory board. And so they asked me to talk to the board president and the broker, and I had this huge presentation, and I kind of told them what was going down. And basically it came down to this. I was like, here's the deal. Other areas are going into this model of teams, and I need you to create a team structure. And this is the team structure that I'm willing to compromise with. And I'm, you know, I'm giving you guys 30 days to decide whether you want to keep me as an agent or not. And then basically they drug their feet and they mulled it over. And basically at the end of the day, they're like, we would love if you could stay, but we just can't do that structure. And the main reason is not that it wouldn't work or not work. It's the fact that it would create huge disruption within our company. And so they did not want to change their methodology based off of disruption rather than production.
Right.
And I mean, at this time there was only 5 agents they were basically carrying the entire company. I mean, they were holding up. I mean, if those 5 agents were to leave, they'd have to shut their doors. Like, that's how much control that they had.
Yeah,
but they didn't realize it. And, you know, and at that point I was like, all right, well, it's fine. You know, it is what it is. And so I threw up the deuces, and then I start hearing from other agents over there. They tried making all these changes and trying to do all these adjustments because they realized how much of an impact that I made on their company. And then that lasted for about a year, and the dust settled, and then they were just like, you know what, forget it. And they just went back to their old ways. It's crazy. It's just crazy. You know, and I'm sure you guys had that over where you were at before, where you had agents had floor time, you know, all of that stuff. And that was one of the big draws. And then, you know, open houses was another one. And, you know, I was like, you know what, I can control my own destiny without having to be held captive by all of these old school strategies, you know. And I'm just like, this is crazy.
Well, we have a good control of, you know, our community as far as listings and stuff. And I carry a good inventory typically. So it's like, I don't need somebody else's listings to go do open houses on or to market. You know, right now we're marketing someone else's stuff because we're out of inventory and it's all pending, which is great. And without new stuff coming on the market, it's, you know, that's the only reason we had to do it. Now because we wanted to get an ad out today. Now I've got 4 new listings coming on this week in all past clients that are like, all right, we're going to listen to the advice, take it and go get on the market and sell. A couple of them are vacant, so you don't have to take as much of a precaution there. Right. That's more the agent doing their own precaution, but on the occupied stuff, you do what you have to. And they've got to move. And it's funny, I just got a text from a buyer while we're on this, who's coming down in 2 weeks from Georgia, and just told me, he's like, all right, we're going to have to delay. And we kept talking. Every time he'd hear a news clip, he would ask me what's going on, you know, what we need to do. I'm like, I mean, if you want to see houses, dude, we're going to go look at them. If you can't get down there, I'll go video them for you, and you make a decision from there. And now he's got to pull his house off the market that's on the market up there because of COVID in that area or something.
Well, it's depending on who you talk to. There's some states that are wanting to lessen the restrictions, and there's others that want to tighten it up, you know. And I don't know. My prediction is that either it's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to go, it's going to go military lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, where it's basically like unless you're going to the grocery store, the gas station, or, you know, basically to essential areas like the banks and stuff like that. Yeah. Where, and then, you know, if you have people in your vehicle, it has to be immediate family or nothing.
Right.
Or they're going to just loosen the restrictions and just let the fallout happen.
Well, we have, we're on lockdown with that here, but you got to see how many people are on the road, and are all those people going for essential services? You know,
no.
Real estate is an essential service, so I can go do stuff. But like, I've got my boat in my driveway. It's been there for about 3 weeks. The HOA would have sent me a letter in 2 days. It's been there 3 weeks. We have not gotten a letter. My comment back is, sorry, we came back before the lockdown and I had to clean it. It's, you know, usually it's there for a day before I take it to the marina. But and I'm scared to go put it in the lake because I'm afraid they're going to pull me over while I'm towing my boat.
It's because because your recreation is not essential services.
Yeah. I'm going to show lakefront property to my wife and kids.
There you go. They're going to be, sir, do you hear yourself right now, sir? Like, clearly that cannot be the case.
I was supposed to go this weekend to go look at a riverfront property, and I was making a joke to a buddy who's the buyer, and he's like, because there's 2 houses he wanted to see, one on each end of the river, and I'm like, dude, that'd be so cool. Let's go. Let's jump in the marina. We'll go down to one. We'll look at it, come up on the dock, and then go to the other one. He goes, that'd be a long day. I'm like, of course it would be. We'll be on the water. Who cares?
Right.
Mr. Officer, I've got a buyer. We're going to look at waterfront. We wanted to come in beachside. I don't know how if we get away with it, but hey, it's a good fight.
Right.
And it'd be a relaxing day on the water.
That would be nice, but quarantine times, gotta love it.
It is. That was my new Wi-Fi thing too. I just bought new Wi-Fi for the house, and got rid of the old ones. And my new Wi-Fi logo is quarantine time. Someone walks in, what is the Wi-Fi? Quarantine time.
Nice, nice.
Easiest one to find. But yeah, it's the brokerages. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the brokerages around here. The smaller shops that only have a few agents or have like 1 or 2 big agents carrying those offices, and the other ones that are, you've got another 10 or 15 that sell a couple homes a year. what are going to happen to those brick and mortars, because they're, I mean, there's some people who are, it's what, April. Oh, we're out of business for the year. Like, people are already shutting down. I mean, just agents like not wanting to sell anymore, and because they don't have the consistency. And I think that's part of the problem, and where you're going to see some more shakeup, like you're talking with that other office where people were getting out, or they may close up shop.
Well, I mean, if you're relying heavily on being able to go to open houses to talk to people,
Yeah,
and you're relying heavily on word of mouth referral, I mean, you're gonna have a really, really difficult time right now, because those old school tactics of that rely heavily on physicality are just gonna are dead right now.
right.
You know, because people are scared. You're talking to people that are past clients, and of course they're not going to be actively like working on your behalf, because they're not being social either.
Right.
So sphere of influence marketing is very, very difficult right now. And if you're not doing some of these other things like being on social media, technology type advertising, retargeting, you know, and getting a hold of clients that are not part of your network, that are outside of your network, you're going to have a really difficult time right now, because those are the ones that are like, we're going to just wait and see what happens. We're not really sure. Well, I think we're putting our house on hold that we're going to sell. And so now you've got to rethink your whole process. And if you hadn't had that process in place 3 months ago, trying to do it now is too late.
Yeah. I mean, we're taking the time right now to really just re-strategize our business for the next 9 months. It's, you know, and someone made a comment, rewrite your business plan, and we are, you know, where are we getting the business from? I mean, we are talking to our past clients in our sphere right now, not for business, but to check in. Mm-hmm. And any marketing that we're doing to them is to stay top of mind, not to try to sell them something.
Yep.
We cut back on a lot of our other marketing, which is like our print stuff that we do, because we're, you know, again, staying in a farm, we try to be in front of the community a lot. But we even pulled off the print marketing. I mean, it's one, to save money. Two, it's not going to be effective right now. We don't want to come across that person as, oh, Todd's now posting that he just sold the house in a bad month, you know, or getting a card out there. And the card we sent was, we're virtual. If you guys have questions, we're working virtually. That's the ad in the local little paper we have. And that's what we're running across our Facebook as well. You know, how are we helping you as a buyer or a seller do things virtually? And that's what the marketing really has to go through.
Sure. Yeah, I did a lot of the same stuff. Oh, I got somebody jumping on. Hey, Julie.
Morning.
Hey, I'm gonna can you just jump off for a second? Apparently I'm using the generic and so I'm just finishing up your podcast real quick.
Okay.
See ya.
That's awesome.
All right, man. Well, we better wrap up, because I got a call here in 5 minutes with my team. So
yeah, do
all
it.
right, man. Well, Todd, I appreciate your time today. If there's any way people can get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, connect to our website, keepingorlandomoving.com, or you can reach me direct on my cell phone at 407-247-4184, and Todd Schroth, Schroth. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, all pretty much the same. I'm on Facebook most of the time, so that's the best place to connect and or sell our website.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. And thanks for our audience listening to another episode of the Success Agent Podcast. And we will catch you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks, JP.
You're welcome.